Chapter 6. Be Still and Know. So often we spend so much time doing and not enough time just being. We are so often in the search for more, to be more, to have more. And although this is one of the beautiful things that makes us human, it can also, at the same time, distance us from becoming more us. What do I mean? Well, it's like this. Years ago, after having done community service in Brazil for 2 years, I went to see a psychologist. Having lived in some of the most dangerous areas of some of the most dangerous cities in the world, I had some trauma from what I had seen. I also realized that I had some traumas from my early childhood, self-confidence issues from my late childhood and adolescence, and let's not forget about the lack of identity and connection after a particularly rough breakup with the girl I wanted to marry. The psychologist that I went to lent me a book. It had an idea in it that I had never considered. It said that, in reality, all of us often wear masks. Not literal masks like around Halloween, but figurative masks. Masks that hide who we truly are at the root of our identity. The mask of a friend, the mask of a son or daughter. Good religious person, self-centered jerk, an employee, a student. The mask of a coworker, the mask of everything that you are not. What was more shocking and amazing to me was the statistics behind it all. As I was reading this concept, the author pointed out that they had done a large amount of research and found that there was an average amount of time per week that people use these masks to cover up who they are. They had also come up with the average weekly time that someone showed their true, authentic self. The actual amount of time that someone is willing to take off the mask and show their beautiful self to the rest of the world was shockingly low to me. Only 12 minutes per week. What? Only 12 minutes a week? How could this be? More questions filled my head. Which 12 minutes are they? How can I know which 12 they are? Oh, crap. Maybe I've been wearing the mask so well for so long that I didn't even know who I was. This led to a deeply disturbing reality that I had no idea who I truly and authentically was. I had fooled so many other people in order to protect myself from the world that I had fooled myself too. I started going through the weeks, picking apart everything I said, everything I did, every idea I thought, every emotion I felt. At first, it was even more confusing than when I had started going to counseling. The burning away of the dead wood of my soul left me open and vulnerable. But it also left me feeling a bit proud. Confidence slowly started to creep in, as my identity did as well. It started to give me some direction in life. After some time, I started to notice that when I had an alignment of thought, the emotion, and the general sense of peace about me, that was probably one of those minutes of me taking off the mask and taking the brave step of presenting myself to the world. Over the following 20 years or so, I've encountered techniques and skills that helped me develop who I am right now. I am a confident yet humble guy who loves myself and others more authentically and altruistically than I could have comprehended years ago when I was wearing all those masks. I'm not saying that I don't use masks at times, but at least I'm more aware and use the mask for the shortest time possible so that I can get back to spending time with one of the persons I love the most, myself. During this search for techniques and skills to help me pull off the mask and cut away that dead wood, I've realized that there are different phases to the healing process of becoming and staying strong mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I realized that some of the techniques needed to be the most simple and basic. I am enough. Most often found at the person's weakest point, they're in what I call the I am enough stage. This is when the person might be in such a fragile state that they do not want to focus on huge wins. A small incremental success that can be the foundation of their self-confidence coming back. This is the stage for those on the first and second levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The second stage of techniques are the abundance stage techniques. This is a point at which the person, maybe yourself, is able to feel good enough about themselves to start aiming for bigger, more audacious goals. A time when I am enough is no longer enough. It's for those that want to conquer, those that want to have what they want and no longer just what they need. These are the people that are in the third and fourth levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The third stage of techniques are the prosperity stage techniques. These are for people that have achieved enough success in their level of abundance that they want to provide prosperity to others. These are the people who unintentionally reach for self-actualization and realize that the only way to get there is by helping others. Not helping others with the intention of getting something from someone, but helping others with the intention of just helping, just being still, and knowing. With this said, and before getting into a few of the many techniques in the I am enough stage, I believe it's important to ask a fundamental question. However, before asking the question, I want to clarify that this is in no way making light of a situation or the difficulty that you or your loved one might be going through right now. It's simply a question everyone should ask themselves if they are going through tough times. General Patton once said, "If we do not discuss the enemy's weapons and strategy, we will be cut down as ribbons." I love this because it helped me to realize that when we ask the difficult questions and at the same time hold strong with mental resilience, we can face the difficult problem and find solutions that make it difficult no longer. So what is this question? It's simply this. Are you really depressed? Or do you just not know how or what you want and how to get it? It's a valid question. So often people self-diagnose with depression when what they are facing is not truly clinical depression. In reality, they are going through some of the common difficulties that we will all face in life. Problems that maybe they have just not been able to figure out how to overcome yet. Problems that they might keep making. They keep trying to solve the problems, yet keep messing up, which is not a bad thing. We all make mistakes and get confused at times. When we are attempting to do something as simple as find a new job or a better job, have a healthy, intimate relationship with someone, find something fun to do outside of work, develop friendships, gain education or status equal to our personal level of intelligence, we will often fail. Not only that, but we will also often fail miserably. Through failing miserably, we have a natural tendency to look down on ourselves and get bummed out, depressed, and maybe even start to feel hopeless. Yet this is not necessarily defined as clinical depression. That is a good thing because it simply means that we get to develop the skills needed to learn how to do something successfully. When we learn to do something successfully, it gives us a greater sense of accomplishment. When we overcome problems, greater confidence comes. There are times when we might not even learn how to do something right. We might make the same mistake repeatedly. I know I have. That's still a positive thing because eventually it will lead us to an understanding of what we are doing wrong. When we know what we are doing wrong, we can start to try new ways of accomplishing the things we want to accomplish. What's even cooler than this is that once we have a plan, even if it's a horrible plan, even if it doesn't work out, it helps turn on the positive chemicals, the endorphins in our brains that start to guide us towards getting away from feeling depressed. Eventually, over time, we will find new ways to get what we want. And that is usually what gives us feelings of happiness, joy, contentment, peace. It is by trying to do something, simply trying, and finding the good in that moves us forward. So ask yourself the following questions. Do I have any friends? Do I have an intimate relationship, or am I going after one? Do I have a reasonable career? Am I educated to the level of my intelligence? Do I have something useful to do with my time outside of work, like a hobby, church, contributing to a charity, or some kind of group? Do you have a drug or alcohol problem? Do you have an actual addiction to something outside of drugs or alcohol? Are there other behavioral problems like the difficulty of sleeping or the lack of eating? Do I do any physical activity that could be considered exercise? If the answer is not what you want to be on any of the things listed above, think what behaviors you might be able to change to what you want them to be. There is an incredible difference between having a terrible life and being depressed. Sometimes it's good just to work on fixing the rough life, and by doing that, the depression might go away. I want to point out two different ideas here. First, stop looking for perfection. One of my favorite coaches and trainers that has now become a trusted friend has a saying, don't ever reach for 100%, go for 90. He followed it up and explained that we live in an imperfect world. Even though we can do everything within our power to reach 100%, the world has its say too. We have things that will always be out of our control. The weather, traffic, other people's freedom to choose to do what they want, and many other things are simply out of our control. No matter how much we try, not everything is up to us. My friend also pointed out that even if you don't try for 90% and only tried for 50%, it will have an astronomically higher success rate than not doing anything at all. The simple step of making an attempt is a magical thing. So try, make an effort, do it. Even if you do it poorly, some people have become millionaires by simply doing something poorly. What if you're a perfectionist? Well, become perfect at doing 50%, reaching for getting 90 of 50%. If you get something done at 50%, then increase your effort to 50.5 the next time, and maybe 51% the time after that. Just make an effort. You'll be amazed at what you will accomplish. Second, if you or your loved one is anything like I was, you might not even know where to start on the list. That's okay. Sometimes it takes help from someone to get you started on the right path. If it is too overwhelming, you or your loved one might want to consider taking an antidepressant until you or they are able to get on your own 2 feet if your medical provider suggests it. I know, many people don't like the idea of taking pills to help for one reason or another. I completely respect that. However, don't underestimate the possible positive results that taking medication under your doctor's direction can bring you. It's worth a try. If you or your loved one does, you will know within a month if the meds are helping you. If not, you can always ask your doctor to change the medication or to take you off them. They are at least worth a try if you are truly down in the depths of despair and don't know a way out. It's better not to like the antidepressants for a time than to be dead. If not for you, then maybe for the ones you love, so that they don't have to deal with the intense suffering if you are not here. Believe me, you are loved, and someone would be wrecked without you being here. I get it. I've been depressed. I've cared for suicidal and post-suicidal attempt patients in hospitals for over 16 years. Some of them, including myself, didn't want to take antidepressants. They, and I, saw it as a weakness having to depend on a pill. But think about it. If you have diabetes, would you refuse to take your insulin or metformin? Would you stop taking your metoprolol, clonidine, Lasix, or verapamil if you had high pressure? Of course you wouldn't. So why refuse a medication that can possibly help you through a rough patch in life? It doesn't mean that you have to be on it for the rest of your life. Once, after a very difficult time in my own life, I realized that I needed to get some therapy. I also knew that many antidepressants take 2 to 4 weeks before they work. I put my pride behind me, and I got on the meds for 3 weeks before I got into the deep, dark, and hard stuff with my therapist, so that it would carry me through the earth-shattering lows. As soon as we got through the hard stuff in therapy, I was able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I talked with my doctor to see about slowly coming off of it. In total, I was only on the med for about 7 or 8 months, and have not had to use it since. That was almost a decade ago. According to Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, in a 2017 lecture at the University of Toronto, he stated, "If you're sick, do what is necessary to get better, and you leave your pride behind. You want to hit the problem with everything you have at your disposal. Some antidepressants, especially for people whose lives are put together who are depressed, antidepressants can be absolutely miraculous." I want to clarify, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not prescribing or offering medical advice. That is between you and your own healthcare provider. I'm simply offering my point of view. The choice is completely up to you. You will still want to use behavioral interventions like some of the techniques in this book, or seek out a therapist, counselor, or life coach. One of the biggest advantages to seeking out help from someone well-trained is helping you to dive into your own unconscious mind and find what you really want at the core of you, and not just what you think you want.